Tess Alexander here. Welcome to the beautiful QueensPlaza rooftop. Today, I am going to be taking you through a beginner's 30-minute stretch guide. It is something that absolutely anybody can do in their own home with no equipment, no experience, and you just have to have a good time. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. First of all, aim to have your feet hip width apart. I'd love for you to bend those knees and aim to get your hands just touching the ground. Take a big breath in and exhale nice and slowly. We'll repeat this 5 times, just getting that blood moving and starting to warm up those muscles. Once you've completed 5 of these, taking those feet and knees right out to the diagonal into a sumo squat position, and we'll repeat the same exercise. Just brushing those hands on the ground, keeping those knees nice and wide, taking a big breath in as you aim to touch the ground. Warming up those glutes and those legs. Perfect. So today we're going to work our way all the way through your body. So starting off with your head and your neck, moving down into your shoulders, into your hips, and then lastly into our legs. So to start off with, guys, taking your feet just a little bit wider than hip width, purely for stability. I want you to start to move that neck in a semicircle position. We're going to look at that bottom section first and really taking notice where you can feel that stretch increase through your neck down into your traps. If you feel an area that is particularly tight, just hang there for a second and really work into that muscle. Our traps are an area where we hold a lot of stress, especially lifting up those shoulders, or if you're doing a lot of work on your computer using that mouse, those traps are a really overworked muscle. So in order to prevent that, we need to lengthen that out slightly. Sometimes it can be easy to hold onto that hand to be able to really feel that stretch. If not, just letting the weight of your head move through those muscles. Moving straight into the top section. Might find this top section a little bit harder than that lower section, so just take your time and really work through those neck muscles. And let's continue that circle all the way around, warming up that full circumference of your neck. More time, let's go counterclockwise here. And the last time. Excellent. Alrighty, bringing your head back into that neutral position, I want you to pop your arms out to your side. And with your thumbs, try and twist them as far to the back as you can. So rotating those thumbs and feeling that stretch through your forearms and through your biceps. Now twisting your palms over into the other direction. Again, leading with your thumbs, slowly twisting, feeling this stretch through your forearms. If you do a lot of work with grip strength, or if you're holding onto a lot of weights, you'll find that your forearms can get pretty sore. So this is a really great way to stretch out those forearms and those biceps. And from here, rotating those wrists. Again, feeling that stretch through your forearms. It's such an underappreciated muscle, those forearms, but you can really feel them here when you do this stretch. And rotating those arms, those wrists, I should say, back. Perfect. Alrighty, bringing those hands straight down back to your sides. Let's start off with some shoulder rolls. I want you to take those shoulders as far to the back of your room as you can. Squeezing through those shoulder blades and aiming to get them as low as possible at the back. Imagine that your shoulder blades are trying to touch at the back, squeezing nice and tight, taking really big circles. Sometimes I find that if you're doing shoulder exercises like this, you can lose your form and start to lose a bit of control through that super mobile shoulder joint. So by having these shoulders down by your side, it's a really great way to make sure that you're just targeting those shoulders. Now let's take those shoulder rolls forward. Again, keeping them as low as you can down on that front side. So all the way up nice and high and then squeezing tight down low. Excellent. Now let's bring one arm just straight across your body. Again, so important to keep that shoulder down nice and low. Sometimes you can increase that stretch again through your neck by tilting your head down to the side, or you can just feel this stretch down this front part of your arm. And straight over onto the other side, again pulling this one, but make sure that shoulder is down so that we can feel that stretch. From here, let's pop your palms touching each other, and I want you to take this straight behind your head. This is a triceps stretch, so important to keep those elbows as close to your head as you can. This means that you'll feel this down your tricep, getting to all of those three muscles. Triceps, tri meaning three muscles that make up your triceps. This is what it will look like from the back and back to the front. This is a nice stretch. Alrighty, bringing those hands back in front of you, I want you to pop them straight onto your hips because we're going to start moving those hips. Now you can feel like a little kid for a second and move those hips from side to side, but your hips are really important in terms of mobility and flexibility. Sometimes if you're feeling a little tight or if you've got some pain in your lower back, sometimes the root of that is actually from your hips and especially into those hip flexors. So today we are going to look at your hip flexors quite a lot, which is a muscle that runs from your hips all the way down into the front of your knee. Now, when you spend a lot of time sitting down, those muscles get really short. So if they're here, they get really short from sitting down. But the problem is when those muscles are short, they pull tight and they get this really uncomfortable curve through your spine, which can cause a lot of back pain, okay? So if we can get those hip flexors to be as long as possible, it means that we can try and relieve some of that lower back pain that you might be experiencing. Alrighty, so from here, guys, what I want you to do, I'll just turn to the side, but you can stay to the front. Popping your hands on your hips, I want you to tip over from your hips and only from your hips. So you should feel this stretch down your hamstrings and into your lower back as well. Now, really important, I don't want you to fall out of that stretch and feel this in your back. I want you to try and keep that back as straight as possible. Now, if that's here for you, that's perfectly fine. Or if it's all the way down here or further than I can get, wherever you can feel that stretch through your hamstrings, but are not losing that integrity through your back is where I want you to hold. It's also a great idea to pop your hands on a chair or a table at this point. It can be quite helpful to be able to have that support whilst you're feeling this stretch down the back of your hamstrings. Alrighty, now I do want you to fall out of that stretch and feel that stretch increase through your hamstrings. You might be able to get your hands on the ground. You might be able here. You might be here on your legs. Wherever you can feel that stretch through your hamstrings and relax through those back and arms is exactly where you should be. Just holding here for a second, feeling those hamstrings relax, getting closer down to the ground. Alrighty, now rolling up nice and slowly, working your way all the way up through that thoracic spine. I want you to take your legs back wide into that sumo squat position, and we're going to head back down exactly in the same position here, but this time with our legs slightly wider. You might feel comfortable with your arms here. You might feel comfortable with your arms behind your back or again on that chair position, just as long as you're feeling that stretch through the back of your legs. It's really easy to spend a lot of time in this stretch. It feels really nice. Making sure that you take a deep breath in and exhale. So from here, I just want you to start moving those hips from side to side. Okay, so you're just aiming to twist in through those hips. Just really feel this through the insides of your legs, in your abductors and adductors. Alrighty, from here we're going to head over to one side. And I want you to pop your opposite hand as close behind that foot as you can. It's going to help increase this stretch all the way down your arm, all the way down into your hip. You might feel comfortable being here. You might feel comfortable again being on that chair. Or you might feel comfortable with that head on that leg. Making sure you're breathing through all of these stretches. We'll head straight over onto the opposite side, repeating the same stretch, feeling this coming all the way down this side, and of course into those hamstrings as well. Into the center. You might find now that since you've been stretching these hamstrings for a while that they feel a little looser. You might notice that you can get closer down into the ground, and that's a really good thing. Alrighty, from here rolling up nice and slowly. Again, whenever you come from the ground standing up, make sure that you take your time and give your head a second to acclimatize. Alrighty guys, I want you to pop your elbows on the insides of your knees. And we're going to start warming up those quads and into those big prime movers of your legs. So from here, let's straighten up those legs and we'll come into the exact same position as we just were. Lowering that hips back down, aim to get your pelvis between your knees. You don't have to move. I can't help but move while I'm in this position, but you can stay still. And let's repeat that one more time, standing up and then lowering that pelvis back down. Again, warming up those glutes and those quads and those hip flexors. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring those feet back into this center position before we come down onto the ground. Now, guys, It is the time to start warming up those hip flexors. So what I want you to do is aim to have 2 right angles between your knees. So aim to have 2 squares. Now from here, it is vitally important to tilt that pelvis under. Simply by tilting your pelvis, you'll feel a stretch coming from your hip all the way down into the top part of your knee. And that is your hip flexor, which we're trying to stretch. Sometimes this stretch can look like this, but for us today, it's most important to tilt that pelvis and to feel that right into your hip flexor. It's easy to feel like the deeper you are, the better that stretch is, but when we're dealing with this really tight muscle here, honestly, that pelvis tilt is the most important thing. If you feel like you can tilt forward into that position, it means that those hips aren't tilted enough, okay? So lean back and feel that stretch. Now let's come straight over to the other side, again making sure that you have 2 right angles between those knees, tilting that pelvis under. So from here, tilting that pelvis under and feeling that stretch. You can lean back, but most of the time once you get that pelvis tilt, you should feel that stretch straight away. This is a stretch that you should perform every day, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting down. This is a really, really helpful stretch. Alrighty, perfect. So let's come straight down, sitting on the ground, pop those feet together into this butterfly stretch. Now, actually, let me show you from the side. Most of the time when we do this stretch, what we're looking to do is to be able to get those knees down into the ground. But what can happen is you lose that integrity through your back to be able to get these knees down. So for us today, I want you to aim to have your back as straight as possible. So sit right on top of those sit bones and pull your chest as close into those hands as you can. It's really helpful to be able to get a strong grip and aim to have a nice flat back. You should feel this through your lower back. Should be a nice stretch, and of course into those glutes. If you want to increase this, you can absolutely push down onto those knees here, or you can just rely here on that pull and stretch here for a moment. If this is up here for you, that is absolutely no worries. Make sure you keep that stretch and even hold here for longer than I am. If you want to pause this video and stay in this position for a while, it's perfectly fine. Please go ahead and do it, because the more that you hold a stretching position, the more that those muscles will lengthen and you'll really feel the benefits of the stretch. Okay, from here, extending one foot straight out in front. Now what I want you to do is to flex this foot. Now simply with that flex, you should notice that that heel is coming off the ground. You can even increase this stretch by pulling onto those toes, but the most important thing that I want you to do is to feel that stretch coming from your heel all the way through those calves and maybe even into the top part of those hamstrings. Again, keeping that foot flexed. If you relax that calf, you'll feel that heel come down to the ground. So try and keep it up as much as you can. Okay, let's coming straight over to the other side. Again, replacing these feet back into this butterfly position, flexing this foot and feeling that heel come off. You'll have one side that is stronger. You'll always have one side that is stronger or one side that is looser. So it's important to be aware of that and to make sure that you're stretching your tight side just a little bit more. Excellent. Bringing those those feet again back into that butterfly position. Now the next stretch that we're going to do requires you to move your hips in two different directions. So to start off, I want you to pop that foot out straight into your diagonal. Now for this first stretch, I want you to keep your hips and your body facing forward. So if I put my hands on my hips, instead of twisting to the side here like this for this first stretch, I want you just to tilt and aim to get that hand down onto the ground and lift that opposite hand up into the sky. I like to have this hand up here because it's a really good identifier of when you're twisting in through those hips. So if you can stay with that hand vertical, it means that those hips are staying straight to the center. Alrighty, now those hips can twist all the way forward and aim to get your chest as close to this leg as you can. Sometimes people like to pull in, other times you can hold it like this, or this stretch might be up here. It's perfectly fine wherever you feel comfortable. And you can spend quite a lot of time here in this position and really feel those muscles lengthen as you hold the stretch. Come straight back, replace those feet back into that butterfly position, extend your opposite leg, keeping those hips forward, tilting over and lifting that hand up to the sky. Again, make sure you're not twisting over, keeping your hips and your shoulders straight and looking up. This is a really nice stretch through this outside part of your hip and into your obliques. Alrighty, twisting those hips in. Again, you can see that change. Twisting all the way in. You might be able to get your head down. You might be able to hold here. Again, wherever you feel comfortable. You never know. The next time you do this session, you might be able to get a little bit further in. Feet back into that butterfly position one more time. Those legs should feel a little bit looser now, so you should be able to get them just a little bit closer to the ground than when we first started. All right, so let's move straight on to those glutes. So from here, guys, lying down on your back, place one foot on top of your opposite knee and bring that leg close into your chest. You should feel this stretch down into your glute of that leg that is bent out to the side. You can increase this stretch by pulling that leg into your chest. Some people like to push away this knee. It's up to you which one you feel most comfortable in, or you can just let this leg guide that stretch through your glute. There are a few different muscles that make up your glutes that all go in different directions. So it's really important that we stretch out all of those tiny little muscles, making sure that they're in keeping with the direction of that muscle. Okay, let's swap straight over onto the other side and pulling that leg into the side. You will always find that one side will be easier than the other. One side will be tighter, one side will be harder. So if that's for you, it's for me too. Alrighty, from here, pulling those knees straight into your chest, I want you to aim to get your pelvis 1 centimeter up off the ground, pulling those knees as tight into your chest as you can. Okay, from here, extend one of those legs, keep one leg bent, and tilt the bent leg over the top of your body and bring your arms out to your side. From here, it's super important that you keep both of your shoulder blades firmly on the ground and make sure that you keep looking in the other direction as that bent leg. So a really nice stretch. You should be able to feel this from this part of your hip all the way down into your back and into that glute. Take a couple of seconds here. Breathe in nice and slow and exhale nice and slow. As you breathe out, you should feel that knee get closer to the ground. And coming back into center, again, taking both of those legs back into your chest. I want you to extend the bend the straight, and we'll tilt over to the other side. Again, taking those hands out to your side and making sure that your head is facing the opposite direction as that bent leg. If you want to take a moment here and you're really enjoying this stretch, feel free to pause the video, take a moment, and enjoy this full body stretch. And we'll take those knees back into your chest one more time. And from here, we'll sit all the way up, tuck this foot underneath, bring that leg back. Sometimes this leg can be up here. This is a little bit harder of a stretch, so today it's perfectly fine if you can keep that leg tucked under. Okay, coming all the way down, bringing those hands up in front of you and simply resting that head on those hands. This is a really nice stretch. We're pretty close to the end now, guys. Feeling this stretch through your glutes, through that hip flexor. Breathing in nice and slow and breathing out. Okay, coming back in, lifting up one more time. And we'll replace those legs. We'll do exactly the same stretch, but onto the other side. Again, make sure that you sit on top of those hips, okay? So not coming out this way, all the way up on top. And bringing those hands down in front. Just relaxing here. Taking a moment to enjoy this stretch. Okay, bringing those hands back in under those shoulders and lifting up. Okay, from here I want you to take that leg straight back and we'll come down into Cobra. So popping your hands down by your sides, lifting up and feeling this stretch through your lower back. That might be here, that might be here, that might be on your forearms, wherever you feel comfortable here in this stretch. And then coming all the way back into child's pose. Breathing in and breathing out. Taking a moment to relax here. Back into this square kneel position. I want you to pop your feet straight underneath your body and tuck your fingertips underneath your toes. From here, I want you to pull up and out of those shoulder blades and pull up and out of those hamstrings. Really feeling that stretch through your shoulder blades, through your lower back, and through those hamstrings. Alrighty, bending those legs. I want you to aim to have a flat back here. So make sure that you're not still out of that back in this rounded position. Really want you to try and get those shoulder blades in line and aim to have a flat back. And then pull up and out of those legs, those hamstrings, your shoulder blades, and your back. One more time here. Pulling those shoulders into a flat back, taking that pelvis down, lifting those eyes, and one more time. All right, release those hands and take a moment to roll up nice and slow. Work your way through that thoracic spine, and always giving your head a second to acclimatize. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of your beginner's guide to stretching. I hope that you had a really beautiful time. Please remember to only work to your capability levels and make sure that you check with your healthcare professional before you make any changes to your exercise routine. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tess Alexander. I hope you have a beautiful time learning how to stretch.